Okay, hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. I'm Miles Brogan, and today we are back for another chart stream. Let's start this timer, okay, because we're professional lately. You know, ever since the certain video we posted, obviously we can't mention names because we're somewhere else. It's the whole channel's changed, really. You know, we've hit this point where we're professional now. You know, we're never gonna ever, or I'm never ever gonna, you know, spend more than 1 hour on the charts. I say I'm gonna spend an hour, I spend an hour. Okay, we're professional today. Yes. I'm gonna mope through the stream, not gonna lie. It's more of a, again, I categorize my streams into two sectors. There's the mass entourage of new things to happen, and I talk about it, and then there's a in review. But today actually it's going to be a third one where I'm doing both, where I'm going to talk about the monthly print for like 2 seconds and then say the same thing I've said the entire time, because I'm looking more on the higher time frame, the lower time frame, and it hasn't happened yet, and we're still just waiting for it to happen. And then yeah, I'm going to do that for every coin and then go and turn the stream off. So that's kind of the process of what's happened today. So let's just go through the formalities and then we can get into it. We have 317 million liquidation 24 hour, nothing of interest, not even that big of a number. Bitcoin about 66k. We've been up and down, left and right, but currently 66k. About 0.7% 24 hour down, 0.6% down 7 day. We came down really low, we went up and then came down again to our low point, and then we went higher. It's all been all up and down, left, you know, it's been all over the place. Ethereum at 1933. Again, these numbers are pretty much the same we talked about. You know, I know we've had a journey to get to these, you know, up and down and all these places. However, realistically, the number from what I remember last stream being till now, they're pretty much the same numbers. So that might be a bit higher. I don't know if it was 81 when I last looked. I can't remember the exact price. But they're all the same numbers, basically. It's going to be the same price action. I'm just going to go, oh, look, we went down, we went to support, came back upwards. That's it. Like, I'm not going to really be doing too much more, because we've literally we formed a range. I don't know the exact date. We'll obviously look at it when we go to the charts. And ever since then, we've been in those range. Ever since we hit that major low and then came up, we've then just been within this, like, tight range. And apart from the 1 hour, we haven't done anything of significance, or we haven't had a massive move or anything of the sorts. But anyway, 1930 for Ethereum, about 2.5% down on the 24-hour. Solana 1.9. So of the worst, or of the three anyway, Bitcoin's doing the least downwards move, which is nice, but it doesn't matter. It's like 0.8% difference. It really doesn't matter. 83.3%, or $83.3, I should say, for Solana, with a 1.93% down on the 24-hour. Doesn't really matter. We're going to look at the charts. It's going to be the same thing. I can't even type. I have this zoomed out. I don't know if you can see this top. I have it zoomed out 66% just to fit it on the screen with all the charts and whatnot. Syrup, I can only imagine we've gone up and down and all these sorts of things. I don't know what our low's been, but hopefully it's been within the range. Yeah, so it's been within this gap. It's been within this this green candle here, at least, of 16, about 17 cent to about 26 cent ish. I do want to expect a move upwards, but you know, this will happen again. I'm happy we've come to this area we're in, and we're just, you know, it's stuff I've talked about for so long. The only expected outcome of this should be a move back towards highs, and that's it really. So there's not really much gap in the way up until about 41 cent. So Syrup, I think, is on the long haul back upwards. That's realistically it. So that's my TA already. I'm probably doing to go to it. I always forget, like, even though I know what the word is as well, Liberty Financial, I always sometimes put WFLI. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, so about 10.5 cent. It's the same price. It's the same price. We've been basically waiting to come to about 15 cent, 14.5 cent. Yeah, we're at the same price we looked at last stream. So not going to be too exciting with stream. The only thing I would say is going to be the monthly print, because that was something I said two-ish, you know, back. It was like a week and a bit, so it must have been either Thursday, the week before last. I can't remember the exact stream. My camera's gone blank. but I am very tired though. Oh my god, this is. I don't know. I've turned this off. I don't even know how many times, and it ignores me. It just completely ignores me. I see. What website is that? Yeah, this is CoinMarketCap. This is yeah, it's CoinMarketCap. Anyways, Bitcoin. So, the main thing we wanted to focus on, or I wanted to focus on anyway, on this stream, was going to be this monthly print. Now, I'm saying focus on. It's not going to be more than 3 minutes. I'm going to talk about this because it's not actually anything substantial right now. It's more so a theoretical, I suppose. But this was, I was saying a few streams ago, okay, I want to wait till monthly print, or at least going into Monday, because I think it's going to be quite important to how we move kind of long term. Because I think a lot of people expect a somewhat of a retracement to XYZ price, people think, and then we go down further, is the expectancy of a lot of people, which I suppose I can get on board with majoritively. And this, what I was saying last stream when I talked about this anyway, was the same concept where, okay, what's the idea that on a trend, especially when you're reversing a trend, the idea that, and it's not a guarantee, it's not a guarantee we stop here, it's not a guarantee we don't just come down further towards 48 and then go upwards. This is, again, like I said, theoretical. Everything's obviously theoretical. But what's the chances that in at any point of an extension from the initial point of reversal, and let's say, okay, I know this example we've only just reversed on the monthly technically, which it's not the point of the example, but at any point from the point of reversal all the way up until the most recent low, coming past that other low, which obviously kind of starts this move downwards, on long term anyway. At what point do we, would there be the most likely chance of a move back upwards? Would it be the point you've only just reversed that, or would it be coming past that low and having this whole move to get to this low? Again, I think it's not a guarantee. We could go down forever. I mean, I obviously can't, but I think functionally and it makes sense, right? Where we have a scenario where we've come from 120k, obviously the very, very top being about 126k. We have this scenario where we've come from there all the way to extreme lows anyway of about 60k. We've had a massive move downwards, right? Now, doesn't have to be the stopping point permanently, but in the scenario of, okay, we've now printed this new low, to continue doing what we're doing, having a small move back upwards before we go back downwards, like having a retracement. Now, what backs this up? Well, we had a monthly, let me scratch the back of my head quickly. We had this monthly candle, I believe it was this green one, where we formed it, and then we had a down close back down towards the low of it, and then we kind of stayed below this area where we stayed kind of below candlifying resistance, and then we pumped it, and then we kind of had it. I didn't quite use its support here though, to be fair. I am on a different exchange chart though, because there was a lot of drawings on the other one. And other than that though, we've come back down to this area, so we're kind of in an area where it's not exactly support, but it's it's the best we had in comparison to everything else. We technically could have reused this area, but other than that, it was going to be something within here. Coming past this low and something within here. So it makes sense. We're valid. So at any point, if we were to find a support point, I think where we are right now, temporary, it doesn't have to necessarily be a guaranteed support point of permanence and forever and ever and ever and ever. We're never going to get lower than 65, 64k. But an area of an intermediate area where we stop for a bit and then allow ourselves to continue downwards at later dates and finally find our low point for Bitcoin. Why is that place showing adverts? I don't know. We don't control them. This. You're literally the other person who controls the channel. It's like talking to a brick wall. Oh, no, it's not where. It's there's no point in me saying that because you already know this. Anyways, so we've printed through 74.9 or 75. So that's kind of the idea I had going into looking at the monthly print, quote unquote. So respecting that, it then plugs into this massive modular system we have, in terms of the price action I've been talking about, which is, oh yeah, we have our thing going on, we're going to find the support point or something, and then eventually we're going to get up towards 81k, whatever it was, the exact numbers I gave. And that's it. And it's quite a modular system, you know. We can plug in very easy to this, and it still hold ground, because it's quite a very general, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to go up to this price. That's very general, right? So to say, okay, we've come past 75k, I'm now going to plug this into the modular system, being, okay, well, if we have this idea, we have a low, we want a bit of retracement before we go downwards again, you know, it could maybe add to the fact. Again, this is more theoretical of most of the things I talk about. It's just really, it's based on a very, very primitive idea of, okay, oh, we've printed past the high, we can come down. But I mean, again, look at this case, for example. Oh yeah, we came from the, you know, we were already in an uptrend. You know, we printed past this high, for example. But, you know, we came up a high margin. It's like, okay, well, after we get past 73k, we're looking for a low. You know, it's like, it's not exactly. This isn't a great example of that, you know. So it's not a thing where it's guaranteed to happen just after you get past the high. It's more of a, okay, at some point we're going to see a retracement back upwards. It's just at what point is most likely for that to happen. And it's like, okay, so what's the binary option here? It's not any of this move. It's coming past 75k or not, to be in a downtrend or not. So in that case, I do believe it's going to make sense that as soon as we get past this 76k, or 75k, I should say, it's not a guarantee we will go up directly off this price, but within the area below it. So I would argue anywhere within this support maybe and this low, you know, from bouncing off this low to that high, I would argue is something. So anything below this, so within this range, we have this support. We could go lower towards some of these areas down here. Again, it depends on when we exactly want to stop. We've had obviously the support for a while now with this weekly. We haven't shown a single sign of really getting below this, which has been quite nice. You know, again, we have wick pass, but we've been printing at this area very consistently. And in terms of the price action we want, we really did want to see, it would be very nice to see a bit of a retracement towards certain areas. Again, we have a very open area here on the weekly and the daily. Obviously, monthly, yeah, we do have a bit of a gap here on the monthly, for example. To be fair, I would probably be looking more at this one. I suppose this is a lot closer down. So at least getting back upwards into this potentially. So I suppose that in terms of a slowdown to not quite get up towards 82 could be an argument for the monthly, where, okay, cool, we have this massive gap on the monthly, but it's not exactly. But we do have them on the daily. To be fair, we have this gap before anything else. But yeah, for the longest time anyway, it's been mainly talking about 81k. It's been kind of, let's say, the rounded off price of what I've talked about on a few of these streams now with Bitcoin, and obviously in comparison to Ethereum and Solana, we've got our relative $110 or 260 to 250, I think, or 2,500, I should say, 2,600 for Ethereum. I think that's more on the latter end though, on the more optimum. That's like saying 85.5 for Ethereum, you know, or for Bitcoin, but in relation to Ethereum. But yeah, so we haven't really got past this wick below us, which we obviously found this low. And if we look at the daily, this is the range I was talking about, where I just moved that. Let me put that back to normal. There we go. Well, we kind of formed this range, and we've been in it ever since. You know, in terms of respectively on the daily. In terms of actual, like, this was exciting to talk. I mean, exciting to talk about. Yeah, it was good. This was good price action to talk about, because we had, especially in this case, because we knew we had different areas. We knew we were going to retrace in a downtrend. We knew we had gaps on the way downwards coming from the high. You know, we knew these certain areas, right? And obviously on the way downwards, it was still, everything we talked about was interesting, because we had previous, you know, areas. Before, you know, lows, you know, gap areas, for example, we had whatever we want to look at. We had interest, but now we've hit a point where we found this support. We've come to this monthly area. I should probably go to. I think I'm using this chart. Yeah. Obviously, we've come to our area on. I believe it's the monthly. This is the area I was talking about. Yeah. So we have our areas. We've come to it, and then we've kind of hit this block, and you can see how boring it's been to talk about this price action. Because you can see the sheer amount of areas and lines I have, or ranges boxes or rectangles, I should say. You can see the sheer amount of shapes I have in this tight area, because I haven't been able to really talk about this on a interesting level on this time frame on the daily. I've had to go to the 1 hour and look on, you know, oh, we're gonna go up and do this and this, and it's been fine. You know, we've talked about it. It's, you know, it's made sense, and it's been decent to talk about. And we've had our support resistance. We've had each and every area, and they've all kind of done decently well. You know, this bottom area's been done pretty well. We've had prints on either side. We've done pretty well, I would argue. But it's not exciting and it's not productive for Bitcoin. So yeah, going back to the daily. So if we actually look at what we've talked about, and again now I'm piggybacking off things I've already talked about, which is why I said in the intro, apart from talking about the monthly, it's the same thing. You know, in terms of the actual price action on the daily, we haven't done anything new to talk about realistically, unless I want to go to the 1 hour. And if I wanted to go to the 1 hour and look at what we've done since last stream, so it would have been around coming into some of these areas over here, probably about this time here where we came to previous resistance. We just came down and came out to support, and then came back upwards to a new resistance, and then we had a gap on the way upwards and a previous resistance, and now we're in this little range, right? So we had this little gap, technically a gap and a gap and a gap and all that sort of stuff. Mainly though, talking about, okay, we kind of filled it and used the resistance, come down, found an area of support, still using the resistance, support, resistance, and it's like, you know, I mean, we've literally just sat in this area. It's just boring. It's boring. I know that just blew the mic up. It's boring, right? It's not fun to talk about. This isn't exciting. No one cares about this. Eventually, something will break out and we'll go, you know, decently fast on an upside or a downside, which is great. But yeah, I mean, I suppose the positive of all this is probably where do I hold my more bias? Well, we have it's not a print past a high, but it's a seeing this quite close together where we have this massive gap into a support point. Again, context matters here, which we're not just randomly going upwards again. We have a quite big gap coming down into a support and this whole expansion downwards, and then we can see a very nice reversal. Like we have a tiny candle, no body here, massive move back upwards, and a print through. This is, I think, a very good reversal. We haven't quite printed through this high yet, but I think this is still a very nice reversal where we can see we've had a pretty much textbook reversal, which has allowed us to come to this top end of resistance, find it quite strongly as resistance, but not just tickle it. We've actually come for the whole thing, and now we've come back down and found support. We are seeing still a bit of difficulty at 66, you know, within this range, but we've come back down to a previous support, which was then a bit of resistance for a while, then support. Well, now currently being used as support. So could be pretty positive there. Again, we still have our top ends of things to look at, but in terms of this latest, I think this is still looking pretty good in terms of mainly really focusing on this reversal here and the fact that we have we've had a bit of a period. But to be fair though, what I will say, even though we had a period of we had a period where we printed lower than a low, which was obviously in theory bad, where we printed this, retraced back up into this gap where we saw this midpoint, which obviously we have drawn out here. And then we came down again, but then we came back to a higher point of support. Now, this isn't just I believe this is, actually, no, this might be the 1 hour, to be fair. I actually don't know exactly where I've drawn this. I think it is the 1 hour here. But other than that, we came to a major point of support, and then we had our reversal. And we can see on the 4 hour, it doesn't quite look like a reversal, but, you know, if we look at it on the 1 hour, we can see that reversal happen here. You know, we can see this, we can see us come into our support point. So at any point, if we're going to stop, this makes sense. We then came upwards and printed and found support again in this range. Pretty much looking, where would I argue this support is? Well, we could maybe pay attention to the midpoint there, but what I would say in terms of actual just price action would probably most likely be we expanded on the way downwards towards the low end of this support at 62.7 and then reverse this gap on the way upwards, which we then used here for this midpoint at 63.8 before we pumped again. So we had this reversal already, and we've obviously had the more we lower time frame we go, the more fuzziness there is in the trend, where we have very fast movement between uptrends and downtrends. However, on the daily, even though we had this momentary blip, we've gone back to being positive, right? So we had this massive pump back upwards towards these resistances, mainly on the 1 hour, I believe, printing past this high quite strongly at 68.6, came back down, not printing past this low at 62.5, coming back upwards. You know, we're having this little period where we've come to a low here. We've come to this gap where we've probably trying to trend back upwards, but we're technically on this range in this area in a bit of an uptrend. Now it's all fleeting. We're looking at the 1 hour here. It could be fleeting, but mainly, as we are right now at a support point, or in a position where we are potentially positive at a potentially all right support point, where we could continue to go a bit higher. So regardless, I've just spent 5 minutes talking about that, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter though. It doesn't matter, right? Because all that really matters is that if we hold, we just need to continue to hold 65.17, start to print positive on the daily and the weekly, or mainly the daily, where the weekly actually, yeah. Just print positive on the weekly. I've done it again. There we go. All that really matters, like I said here, is staying above the 65.17, printing at it, whatever it may be, staying positive, or starting to become positive on the weekly, and eventually coming back upwards towards some of these areas, which people could think, whether it may be as low as 72, people could think as low high. I don't care what exactly you think. Or I do care. Obviously, I care. I'm interested. But it's whatever you may think it may be within this range. I do believe there is somewhat of an argument leaning towards, across the board, a move back upwards, right? To find a somewhat lower high before we continue potentially back downwards and all these scary, horrible things. I do see Mike talking there. Groundhog Day, exactly. It's the same stream over and over again. I could just replay the same stream, on video, and no one will probably tell, apart from the date at the bottom. But if I don't show the date at the bottom, which I'm not doing right now, then yeah, it's fine. I should probably show the date at the bottom. That's probably quite a... I don't know why it's so hidden. Obviously, I had to fit it in this kind of cutout we have going on. But anyway, we should record a stream. Put it, yeah, exactly. When do we get to 74k or even 80? I mean, again, I'm not a time guy. I don't know. It's like looking at crystal ball. It's like the crystal ball tells you what's going to happen, but it doesn't exactly tell you when it's going to happen, right? So it's like, I don't know the exact time. I don't know the exact date. I can guess, but everything's a guess at the end of the day. All this is what I'm talking about is a guess. It's just what's more likelihood to happen in this guess based on the response historically of events similar to this, or math, random guess math, which may or may not make sense or may not make apply too well to the charts. In theoretical price action, where trying to find a pattern in formations in price. Other than that, though, that's all there really is. I can guess the time. I don't really have a fundamental. I could try and apply the power of 3 to time, which I know is a thing you can do, but realistically, that's starting to really reach, because there's no price action. There's on the top right. No, I know that, but in terms of the bottom, like on the trading view, at the bottom of the screen, where you can hover on a candle and see the date. That's what I'm talking about. Anyways, so it's not like there's any price action I can look at where there's time related to it, unless I'm completely wrong. I don't think I don't want to do that. So I don't know how I would say the time, unless I'm missing out some chart law which I can use to guess guess where we're going to go and when we're going to get there. But other than that, I don't know. Right? I don't know. I don't really think it's very... whenever you look at people online talking about the charts, they don't want to talk about where, but there's never really that much of a when added. Occasionally people might add a when. It's normally the where, right? So I don't know when this is going to happen. And it's just taking its time, right? There's probably a lot of reasoning. There might be a lot of reasoning behind timing, but again, we've got the whole event going on in the Middle East. Doesn't seem to be doing anything because of that. Wait, what day was it? When was it exactly? I don't know exactly. It was maybe... I don't think it was there. Oh no, when was it again? It was somewhere here. No, was it Sunday? Saturday? It was one of these. It was the weekend, right? I think it was going into the weekend. It might have been Saturday then. I can't remember exactly. All I can tell is I should be able to tell when that happened. I should be able to tell when the conflict started, and I can't, which is a good thing, I think. I think this is a good thing for the charts. The fact that I can't tell, based on the candles, when conflict started is a very good sign. Saturday, right, okay. It's actually quite positive Saturday. It's actually it's like, oh, okay, people are getting hurt out there. Let's go. Let's go to 68k. Either way, though, priced in. Okay. So other than that, again, it's been boring to look at these charts. There's water, actually. I'm ring all over the place. We're going to see a massive move soon. Hope so. I would like to see a massive move soon because it's getting a bit boring. I think we're going to have to do something, aren't we? Eventually we're going to be moving somewhere. Either that be down or up. So at that point, it really is down to where do I hold the most assumption? Are we going to continue to go downwards, or do we have a chance to retrace? Well, this is why I was saying my TA has been quite modular, because my TA has really just been based on that. I mean, again, that question is what everyone talks about. I just opened a new app and I didn't even mean to. Let me close this down. There we go. I mean, that's the question everyone asks themselves when they're looking at charts. This is a very common question. Oh, yeah, are we going to be going up or going down? This is a very simple question. But the amount of weight I'm holding on that singular question, I think, makes it quite modular, because my TA has been designed around answering this question in different time frames and different methods to see if any of these answers are giving a down move and any of these answers are giving an up move, right? So the monthly, I think, gives a bit of an up move. That's like the least strength in an argument of most of what I have, right? Because it's not just because we come down the low and printed past it doesn't mean we guarantee to go upwards. But in a trend, it's like we go down and then we go upwards, right? Let's say we're in a downtrend, and then we go down again, and then the theoretical of a downtrend, again, at some point you have to stop, right? At some point you see a reversal, but even at a reversal, it's like you normally see it do this, so you haven't even seen it come past that next low, right? So this could be an example. But in the case of a move like this, I don't care about this next move. It's more about, okay, in a structured down move, at what point, drawn out over every sort of online JPEG you can find of a downtrend and uptrend, every sort of example you see, the structural method is you've already come past that low, and at any point in this black box down here, we then eventually come back upwards, right? So that's it. That's the argument. That's it. It's quite a decently weak argument because it doesn't really give a price exactly where. But the best I can do with this monthly, the idea that, okay, we've printed past this low. The idea is we've now started this downtrend, and we're going to want to see a retracement up to somewhat of an area for a lower high, come down again. This is monthly scale. But, on the monthly, we can start to form this downtrend and then break out of it, right? Because a lot of things can happen on lower time frames to stop this from happening. But the assumption is right now, I don't care about exactly what that is. If we are in a massive downtrend down to 43k or whatever it may be. Oh, yeah, that's not... Okay, I was wondering why this didn't look right, because I didn't use this area. I used this area where we have this wick pass and print through. That's why. I just hit my mic stand. I need... This is a alert up here. I need that pretentious road arm stand. It has the road here, so everyone knows how much of a professional you are because you got the road text on it, because this is low, right? But the other road, it goes like to the ceiling and then right back down again. So I don't have that, right? Obviously I have got this floaty one. I keep on hitting it. Hopefully that didn't make too much noise. Anyway, so that's that. Because the whole time I was talking about this, I was wondering why it didn't make sense. I can't remember where I drew it, but obviously, now I zoom out, I realise I actually was talking about this one. This was the main area. Anyways, monthly, where apart from where we are now at the high, where do we have mid to low 52 to 43? So what that's telling me is we're either going to go up to 81 and then come down to this area, or we're going to go down to this area and come up quite rapidly back up to 81. Which is a very useless thing for you guys to hear, because it doesn't give you a single answer to anything. So again, that's why I was saying quite weak, because just because we came past the low doesn't necessarily mean we know where the low is going to be. I can give my best guesses because, again, we have that weekly rejection block, which we haven't printed past the midpoint. We're kind of using this as a beacon support point, right? We came to the high of this resistance at 61.7, 60,000 K, whatever it may be. Again, this is monthly. This is going to range quite drastically. You know, a $2,000-ish. Oh, a $1.5 range here. But we came to this high end anyway, and now we've not stopped completely, but we've kind of slowed down quite heavily. Again, we've slowed down previously. You know, and it's not necessarily meant, you know, we've had a massive move, slowed down, came down again. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to go upwards, but we have slowed down a bit. But again, this is the monthly here. If we were to see a candle, I would hate to see a candle like this. Genuinely, if I started to see a candle like this, I probably wouldn't stream for the month. I would just want to do anything else because all this. These aren't these. You look at these candles. You know, I look at the candles on the 1 hour, the 4 hour, daily maybe. It's conditioned to think that when you see a candle, it's a time frame of about 4 hours, right? We have to realize here we're on the monthly, right? So I really don't want a scenario like this. I really don't like a scenario because this means a whole month where the best we did was a 12% range, basically, or whatever percent range this may be exactly. We have a range, you know, 12 to 11%, 13, whatever it may be. We had a range of nothing. You know, obviously these months, boom, you know, down 27. This one, max high to low, down 22. This one, max high to low, 24.6. You know, obviously back up over here, boom, 50% up in a month, boom. Well, I want something like this. I want something to happen. And then we have those candles, right? And nothing happens. I don't want that. Anyways, so the disconnect between the actions we take and the prices this happens in, where the actions we take when we print past the 74.5 at the previous low would be we find our lower low somewhere and then we go back upwards to do a lower high. Normal trend, right? And technically we are on a downtrend on the monthly, so we would want to do this technically. But then the disconnect is the price. That doesn't tell us where we're going to go to, so we can only give our best guess, whether it be previous highs, and this is a very high range. Again, this is the monthly. This can take us to 52, and this is why this is quite a null void argument, because this is exactly the prices that we were talking about on lower time frames for our major lows again. So it's like, okay, we don't find support here. What happens then? We go down to 52, which is the whole thing we're talking about. The whole reason I want to go to 81 so that we can do a lower low and come all the way back down and come to these low areas, you know, 52 midpoint, 40, you know, 44k low point of this support. You know, we have all this range. So, you know, I mean, we also potentially have a little bit of a range here. You know, we had a little range, we had a resistance, then we had it, you know, came down, used the midpoint support, and then we kind of came down, used resistance, tiny bit of resistance. So we could have something there, 44 again, same price. So it's not really a good indicator, right? Talking about the monthly, but it's still something that's interesting to talk about. Anyways, we have the ranges. I'm going to quickly glance at the ranges. Reese is here. Shout out to you. Hello to you. Thank you for joining. Quickly look at the ranges and look at what's going on. I hear noise on my headset. Hopefully that's not the music. Okay. So we've talked about this. I don't know what range we're on, actually. Okay, let's just bring it down. Let's just go to the 1 hour and look a bit closer at what we've got going on. So, again, let's go to 4 hours. It's a bit easy to look at. We're in the range, right? We have our resistance. You know, pretty much every one of these highs, we either use this top end resistance, which we've talked about previously, which on the 1 hour we have probably a support to resistance or resistance to support, whatever, mainly resistance area. It doesn't exactly matter exactly where this is going to be. We have this resistance area within the resistance area being 73 to 76 or 70,600, I should say. But apart from this area where we kind of use the top end, ever since getting below this. Over here where we kind of had this usage final point here, at every point of our high we were basically at this midline at 68,890. We've not got anything above it. We're boring, right? We're very, very boring. So zooming back down, we have obviously, I have a lot of lines. I don't know why I have so many lines. I need to delete some of these lines off the drawing. But I just really care about the main fundamentals being the mid and the high and the low, right? So we've talked about 59 and 56 as lows, but we've already come to these areas. Coming towards the expansion, if we go to the higher range of where we are on the weekly, we can see this low resides in this if I can draw, there we go. It resides in this range down here, which obviously, as we know, on the weekly, which spawns this entire move, we can see this is obviously the rejection block because we come into the found area. That's the whole thing. And obviously from there, we can see we're on the 4 hour here. We're looking at a weekly support, so there's not going to be a bit of a disconnect when it comes to the exact prices. That makes sense. But for the majority of sake, especially in this period, we did have a good usage of this support. And the only time we had here, where we had that weekly candle, where we had this print here, and we had that wick coming down into this area. But other than that, we've been using this area of support. I just moved to Ethereum. I don't want to do that. There we go. So there's not much to talk about in the 4 hour. So that's it. I'm really trying to pull at straws here to find anything new to talk about. There's nothing to talk about. We've got this support. We're in this range. We're going to do our thing. Eventually, we might print positive within these weekly candles, and eventually it might give us an upturn towards some higher prices. Again, we have talked about some higher prices. If we go to the daily, I've already discussed these areas up here. I believe on was it the higher range or the lower range? I think it was the lower range. Yeah, there we go. So we've discussed these lows. Again, we've had this resistance, which obviously we kind of used here. We've got this area, 78, whatever. The main point I wanted to talk about, or the main point I'm focusing on, is this extension line area, finding a resistance 8,881. Again, this whole range here is basically resistance on daily, weekly, monthly, whatever it may be. So I don't care the exact specifics. All I care about is printing lower than 80,900. If we can do that, it then means we're still in this range below us between 79.3 and 59.049. So respecting that, it would then mean we are in this range, which could then allow us to dump lower. Because again, this is quite a low range. This is the range you use on the 4 hour daily. Pushing it, you can see if we zoom out on the daily, it's getting quite tight. A lot of these lines are very close together. We're pretty tight here. And mathematically, if we look at the actual ranges that we should be in, we should be on the 59049, right? We should be on a higher range. But we're looking at it. We're looking at it on the 4 hour relative to the 4 hour on the daily, so we can see more, right? It's just, I just want to see it on this range. So this, makes sense. So we have this move upwards. It would then potentially spawn quite an expansive move downwards, which would probably mean we would put ourselves. I'm puffing onto the mic here, and this is why, I need to, position on my mic better. Or, as some of you guys might know, just wait till some point later this week where we will be getting the professional microphone everyone uses, right? We will be getting the guys look at me, I'm professional mic, is what I like to call it. You're going to be seeing this mic, and again, this is a if you've seen us on Twitter, you know what mic I'm talking about. So it's what the Shure SM7B, right? This is the one everyone has. This is the mic. It's not only good, obviously. Quite dynamic mic, very good. It matters what the preamp you have as well, it doesn't matter. It's a very unique shape, so I am going to be moving it as they all do. But other than that, I need to stop puffing into the microphone. But once I position the other mic better, it will not happen, as we have educated ourselves on how the mic should work. Anyways, off topic completely. Next range downwards, if we have this expansion. Again, this isn't the low being, we could range this downwards again. There is lower and lower, 19,683, whatever it is exactly, yeah. So it would range, from there to there, for example. And then obviously this one, the next one up, here to here. So this whole monthly support kind of exists in this area as well. We have our higher ranges, which give us some higher price targets or bigger price targets on the way downwards, where we've talked about previously for our support. But I do think if we can have that move back up towards extension line, where we're still going to be in this range, it allows us to, dump down to the bottom of this range very fast. Because again, this is lower-ish time frame range, right? Because if we look at the range we have here, for example, I can't move. So, for example, we have this kind of like high, and then we have this range downwards, which pretty much is the exact range. And then we can see we're kind of in this midpoint area. So we can see the high, the low, and the midpoint of the range. You can see we kind of came from the high to the low, and now we've kind of been in this midpoint area for a while until we either go upwards and then come back downwards, where we then do our thing, whatever. But like I said, this is quite a low range. It'll allow us to dump quite fast from this range downwards all the way back down towards our area, where then once finally, if we can print past 56,887, then we're in the low range. Then we're looking at coming towards 49. We're at the 50s, we're at the 52s and whatnot. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, I'm very impressed with myself because I've managed to spend a lot of time talking about not a lot on Bitcoin. So yeah, very, very good. Let's go to Ethereum. So what we've talked about with Ethereum is this, and again, I've got 15 minutes, right? Now, I do this every time. You shouldn't be surprised. I talk about Bitcoin for the whole show, and then I talk about Ethereum and Solana very, very quick. Serpent, World Financial very, very quick. What I will say, though, in my defense is everything is moving identical. The only change is the number on the right-hand side. So it's the same thing. And on the monthly, what do we have on the monthly? Well, actually, we don't have what we have on the monthly. We don't have a print past 1425. Either way, though, we've got something very, very perfect in terms of what we've got going on. I know the current monthly, we're a tiny bit lower. What do we have? Well, what's the idea we've been talking about the entire time with Bitcoin? The idea that we come past the low, and it's not necessarily a point in which we guarantee reverse at the low, but the idea is we've formed a new low to start a downtrend, and at some point within this low threshold, we're going to have a reversal, come back upwards to do a lower high, and continue the trend downwards, right? That's the idea. Very loose idea. Again, it doesn't exactly give us any prices, doesn't really give us any hints as to where we could go to, but it gives us a general fundamental move. It's quite a bias, me saying that on Bitcoin is very biased because I already want it to go up anyway. So maybe I'm picking and choosing my my battles. Because if I really wanted to go down, what I probably would argue is, oh well, we had that 70% move in one candle on the monthly. We had the massive pump upwards. So even though we come past the high, it doesn't necessarily mean we have to stop anytime soon. So we can go as low as 50k, and it doesn't even matter, and then we can go back upwards. That's what I would say for my argument. Either way, it doesn't matter. What do we have on Ethereum? Again, I'm a bit biased here, but this is very clear. This is a very clear point. This isn't really biased in any sense because it's price action. It's not a guess area. We have this balanced price range. We have a gap. Let's just look at the gap. Okay, it makes it easier for people. Importantly as well, fair value gap. I'm on a lower range. To be fair, this probably isn't too applicable, but regardless, we have a gap. We're in the gap monthly. If we can print, or not even print really. The amount of times we've seen where we've had a candle, and then we've had a second candle which does this, and this is the stopping point, right? I could probably go find it here, for example. Where we've come into a point of support, we don't really have any price action. We come into a point of support, and then we have that down candle, and then the next monthly is directly upwards, right? And we have a tiny little of a move downwards, yes, but then we have this equal close to open, which obviously makes sense. Again, every candle has, not every candle, because again you have the disparities on like Forex, for example, or whatever. So we have this point, yes, brilliant. So in terms of comparison to what we have here, where we've tickled down a tiny bit, but the idea that we can have the open and the close be print identically and then go upwards, right, would be very nice to see. So yeah, that's good. That's good on the monthly. Let's go back to everything else. And you know what? I'm not gonna. Whoops. Because I have a Ondo request from Max, which I will try to fulfill, which means I have to go a lot faster than I am. And that's very easy, because what I'm going to do is, I don't care what's going on, 2,550, 2,475. As long as we're not printing above 2,428, we're in the clear. Solana. I can't look on anything lower than... that's not the right range. There we go. I can't look at the week... Oh, no. Oh. It's fixed it. Ooh, is it fixed itself? Let's see. Okay, brilliant. It's fixed itself. I can actually look at it. Okay, let's go a bit lower so we can actually see. Oh no, it's not fixed itself. I'm stupid. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll just do the quick glance up here. We had the equilibrium to 120. We had a support. We're below it. We're going to find resistance. The outer rim at 114 is probably a good area. We had a previous support which we used, which is now going to be resistance, which we can see is about 106. We have a gap here at 111, 112. I'm looking about 111, 112, 110, like I said in the intro. We have a previous wick here. We also have our main wick here as well, which I'm sure if I was able to go on some lower ranges, I would be able to see it. But obviously if we go to the 81, oh no, I can see it here. There we go, perfect. So yeah, this is... we have our main one here. We do have one here. Again, it's not an exact wick into this range at 81 here, this starting one. But we do have this massive wick, which comes back upwards. So this is the same as every other chart, basically, Bitcoin Ethereum I'm talking about. We have this midpoint being used twice now support. We're printing above it quite nicely, regardless. Other than that, though, let's go back to the higher range so we can talk about it on the weekly. Other than that, though, somewhat support. It's the identical same to every other chart I've ever looked at in terms of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. Other than that, I do want a bit of retracement towards these certain prices back up here. After that, we come down. We have our previous area. We have a massive void on the monthly. Oh, no, I think this is just the void on the weekly, which we can see has this gap plus void area. So we have this main gap area at about 38, but it spans the whole range here. And if we were to go a range higher, which I don't think we should actually do, to be fair, we don't need to. So we have a gap area. Or, you know what, I should probably sink this down towards $40. Because actually, no, I'm not. I'm just going to do both. All right, I'm going to do both. I'm going to make this a yellow. A nice yellow. A pea yellow. So yeah, that's kind of respective to this range. What we have here, that's obviously expected to this range. We have the entire range from the two down close candles here, which is this void area. So we have this area $40. Right? I think a lot of people think $40. I'm seeing $40. You know, 36 potentially into the midpoint of this gap, maybe towards 39. Midpoint of this area is also about 36 to 39, so it's all the same price basically at the end of the day. So other than that, yeah, that's Solana. That's not really much to talk about. Syrup, let's see. Okay, cool. Very, 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 very good on the monthly. This is what I wanted to see, actually. Or the weekly, I should say. This is exactly what I wanted to see on the weekly. This is actually what I said. Maybe not last stream, maybe the stream before. I don't care what we do on the daily 4-hour, where we wick down. We are in this gap on the weekly. We're in this range on here. What I want to see on the weekly is a print at this midpoint at 22 cents and go upwards. Well, yes, we did have a little wick down. Okay. All right, you can argue me all you want. We did print within the range here. 4-hour. Okay, we did come out a bit on the 4-hour. But we're doing quite well on the weekly, respective to where we need to be on the weekly, where we have this weekly gap, weekly thing. Everything's drawn out perfectly. And from there, what have I been talking about? Well, what's it been? It's going back upwards. Whoops. It's going back upwards to the highs. Again, the whole respect of this has been the low, the high to low, and a massive high upwards, massive retracement for a low. We want to see it come upwards. Again, we go up until proven otherwise. You know, it's not a guarantee we're going to go back to all-time highs, but the assumption is, okay, we're in an uptrend. We want on the wide, you know, even on the monthly, you could probably look at it on an uptrend. You know, we can even see it on the monthly here. Actually, even on the monthly, we see a wider gap here. And to be fair, this whole range here is a support. But anyways, whatever. Nonetheless, we can see on the monthly, this is like, you open up a chart pattern book and you see this, you know. You know what I mean? Like, everybody, everywhere. You know what I mean? You open up, this is like textbook. You know, I could talk about this. I could only just started looking at the charts and I could have talked about this. Either way, it's all very positive, I think. You know, we have this. I do want to come upwards again, please. Thank you. So yeah, anyways, well, it's financial. Let's have a little quick glance at this. I think this one's it's this, and then it's this. And then we unhide it, and then we go to the 4-hour. Okay, cool. So yeah, this one I've been talking about. We've talked about the range here. I think this is the right range. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Ooh, is this the right range? Yeah, it is. Ow. I'm pretty sure it's the right range. I'm pretty sure it's not this one. I could do the math. I should do the math, to be fair. But I can't be bothered. I'd rather just eyeball it. I think this is the right range. I'm pretty sure. I think. No, it's not. No, it's not. Is it supposed to be this? Oh, I'm just forgetting completely. Either way, you know what? I can't bother with the ranges. You know, I just don't even care. All I knew is that we had. I think that was the right range, but it doesn't look right. I don't know why. It doesn't. Maybe I'm thinking wrong. It just doesn't look right to me. I don't know why. Either way, we were at an extension line. We didn't use it. We then printed past an extension line somewhere here, and then it basically means we're now in this range, which means this high we saw. Which, okay, you know what? I'm going to unhide it again. This high saw area because we did print. Oh no, yeah, this is the wrong range. That's what I'm talking about. Is it? It is this, I think. I'm pretty sure this is the range. Yeah, this is it. This is it. Because we can see the high to the low. Yeah, this is it. Yeah, this is it. Because look, it looks... Okay, there is math behind how you're supposed to operate them, but at the end of the day, you can just look at what looks nicest. We have the extension area, we have the extension area, with the high, we have the high. You know, it's basically a line downwards between this whole range. You know, that's the range we're in, right? Especially respect to the daily. Either way, we can now know what we're doing. So what I think I talked about was, I don't know what this is. I think this might be on the daily. Yeah, okay. I think I talked about we have our high. We did get to the extension line, print past it, but technically we've printed above this extension line here, which is where this yellow line is. Obviously, have come up to the daily resistance. You can see we came upwards. Daily resistance have come back downwards. We're coming back up down into our range. We had a little gap here. We kind of hold the support a tiny bit. We've come back into this gap now, so we're kind of like looking like we're using this range here. So what we can kind of see with this is potentially a bit of a order block here, because what we have is rejection block, order block. So we can kind of see that with this candle. So if we draw out these two candles here, which is the entire down close before this massive up move, which also allows us to get past these two lows here in this extension line. So let's just go to, I don't know if I want to do, let's do let's just do black. It means we have this area. It means we have this gap, which also sits where this midpoint is, about 1037. So we have support. We're in support, right? We are in an area of stuff. So either way, we're doing our things on the itty bitty part down here. Regardless, what I've talked about is coming up towards some of these areas back up here. We have this weekly order block here, which if we go to the higher range we were just on, this is where we are. I know we need to do Ondo. I've got 9 minutes. We have 9 minutes because we did start it. Oh no. I started for an hour. Oh, we started the stream 5 minutes late. Yeah, okay, because yeah, okay, nice. That's fine then. We have enough time. I'll probably still try and end it before, like, 10-ish past 3, I should say. Sorry, I'm reading the screen at the same time. Either way, resistance, you know, 13.54 coming up towards 14.5 cent, 15 cent. Again, we have this gap on the weekly, which is this 15-ish cent. It is exactly where this equilibrium is on the lower range, which is about 14.5 cent. I think 14.56 is a very good price. I do think we're going to see retracements. Again, what do we see on the weekly? We've seen, and this is the same theory we've had with Bitcoin as well. We're at the extension. If we go to the higher range, we're at the low. You know what? I'm just going to do it. Okay, I'm just going to go to the higher range. We're at the low. We're in this low range here. We're doing pretty well in that support. We've already had this retracement printing past this main weekly low here. We've had this massive expansion to print past this low. We've already seen us print past it, find a support, and stop. Again, same idea we have with Bitcoin, where we've, or any coin, you know, it's a downtrend at the end of the day. As soon as we get past these, we're looking to see where this stops and retrace back upwards. Obviously, this is a very bad sign. This is very quickly drawn. But from there though, we have this order block on the way upwards, I suppose, is what you could say. But we have this main gap area, 14.36 at support. We've done a new low. We're in a downtrend. We're going to go upwards, potentially find a lower high and come down again, potentially. But we're going to hit a point where we don't do that, right? We're going to hit a point where we don't do that. This is I think this is a very expansive area. If we can come up to this area and use it and come down very slowly and either fail to print a new low, do print a new low, print at 8.50, I think I talked about this last stream actually, 8.5 cent, and then reverse, and then, you know, because, you know, go upwards, that'd be nice. Okay. I'm trying to see things. Either way, doesn't matter. That's World Financial. I've been informed though to look at Ondo. So let's do some new TA. Let's just do this. I don't know if I've looked at the charts before. I don't think so. Okay. Again, like I said, I haven't done any math. I'm just gonna eyeball it because yeah. Okay, so what have we got? We've kind of, this is pretty good, I would argue. Again, obviously it's starting at 0 because it started at 0. You know, I think this is pretty good range actually. This is quite a valid range. Why is it drawn it so oddly? I think it's drawn it normally. Okay, I'm just going to leave that on. Okay. It's relative though, because obviously sometimes it has sense. So this would be, you have to find the anchor for the sense, right? And it does it automatically, so I'm not going to question it. Either way, we've got a low to the high, right? We've got a pretty good bearing. So from there, we can kind of see we've kind of sitting at this equilibrium for a while, and we've come down very rapidly. Just about 25 cents. So we're back in these areas back here. So what we can kind of see, I suppose, is we have this all block range. We kind of have these two down close for up move, where we've kind of come into this massive, what I'd imagine would be quite an expansive candle, even though we don't have a gap or anything per se. This is an initial candle open for this entire chart, right? On this chain, to be fair, I don't know if there's any different charts with different price action. Or newer price section. Okay, I'm just not going to look at that chart. Is there any... Okay, this one... Okay, I think that one was the best one because it pretty much starts at 0. I think it's like an initial... Like, it pretty much started as soon as it started, right? This makes no sense. What? What makes no sense? I saw a tweet, but I'd like to see what the Oracle thinks about TA on it if there isn't time. I've got it. Yeah, I'm doing it, don't worry. Is it okay to not know what it means? Yeah, I do talk a lot about, like, and this isn't just like your standard, oh yeah, how to trade, and then it's just like, I'm just looking at images, right? It's just this is very theoretical stuff. This is very, you know, out there. A lot of people might not agree with me. Oh, 25% under. Okay, I get you. So what I'll argue is that there's this singular candle, which is initial open. So this isn't necessarily a liquidity void or gap. This isn't a standard open of a candle where we can initially see, okay, this is a gap we're going to find, you know, like let's say over here, for example. Oh yeah, we have a gap and we didn't quite print at it, but you know, we have an area back here. We have previous gaps. We have this gap here. You know, this is a very open. You know, we have a gap. We come down in this midpoint, printing above it. Boom, expansion upwards. You know, this makes sense, right? Apologies. I would argue that this scenario is also in this candle, right? Because this is the initial open of this chart, flooding of trades, right? Flooding of trades. So would we not argue that this is a valid point of interest to allow us to form an order block, right? Now again, we're on the weekly here. We're getting a bit high ranged. So fundamentally, this might make sense, might not make sense to the application of where we are. Anyways, it spans technically into the right range, so it's probably pretty valid, I'd argue. Kind of at the midpoint, kind of do nothing. I do kind of want to go to a lower range and look at the price action. You know what? Let me see what the wider range looks like. Let me just see what we're doing. Nothing. Okay, so what I can see for Ondo is you've got a big fat reversal. That's all I can see. So I'll probably go to, you know what, let me keep on the right range, right? I'll go to the lower range when we go to like the 4-hour daily maybe, but I'm going to try to keep this quick. So let's look at the monthly, see what we're doing. So yeah, we're well printed past these lows. This is a very, very naff chart you've got me to look at, everybody in the chat. Anyways, so I'm reading the Binance Square chat. Yeah, so this is a very naff chart, but I'm looking at it anyway. So I can see a lot of equilibrium usage, which is good. I don't really see much in the way of support where we are. It's gonna have to be a Hail Mary, right? Because I'm gonna say I'm gonna lean towards, okay, we might go upwards, not on the sense that we have major support and we're doing really well. It's more a question of how low can we go on Ondo, right? How low can we realistically go before we hit 0, right? Either we hit 0 and there's generally no money left in the market, which I don't know if that's going to happen, right? So it hits a point where it's just not going. It can't go down more, right? Can it realistically? So a lot of my words coming out right now, these are not fundamentally price action based, right? It's more of a realistically, how low can we go before we just go back upwards? We have a very beautiful breaker block here, actually. I've just seen. It's actually technically should span the whole thing. I'm just going to do the last candle though. Very beautiful. Really, really good. Perfectly in the range. We have past the low. We have a wick past the low. Point of interest. Oh, you know what? This is really good support because you can see we kind of used it here and then came downwards. So we have perfect resistance here at 70 cent. Or 63 cent, maybe I should say. So yeah, I'm not seeing much, so I'm going to have to go to like daily time just to see if we've got a reversal going on, which, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so what are we doing? We're just ripping down, really. We were in this top range at 65 cents, about $1.30. We kind of entered into this range. You can see we printed past the expansion and then failed to get above any of this area. We kind of had this main gap area regardless, and then we just came down. Equilibrium, we kind of high to low, equilibrium area. It's not very good. It's not a very good range, this. It's not looking very good. Even this. So basically, we came down. We came to the extension line. We tried not to print past the extension line. We wicked all the way down to 26. Is this a normal? Oh yeah, this was the day of death. This was the day of death, to be fair. Is it a good time to enter? Obviously, it depends on what you're entering with. Are you doing a high leverage? Are you doing like a super million leverage? You might get liquidated. Are we going to go up right now? I don't know. I'm going to give it the true honesty, because in terms of previous price action, we can look at a few things. We have this weekly order block. Cool. Okay, brilliant. We can look at the fact we're wicking past this major low on the 10th of October. Could be an idea of the monies. But other than this, right, we've entered into this range. We tried not to. We entered into the range. We have the high at 65 cent. We have the midpoint at 32. And then we have 0. So it's going to hit a point at somewhere. So what I'd argue is maybe we have a void area, right? So I'm going to span the void area, not to the actual void, but to the actual area on the chart, or on the range, because that's where it should realistically be. So we could see something, regards to that, because that massive candle, that could be, I'm just going to name it the void, all right? I've made it up. All right, I'm pulling straws here. This is about 14.5 cents. So that's low, I do agree. And it's a hard chart to look at. We had this gap, we've got resistance, we've got a massive downtrend. Even this whole thing really, we're going, yeah. We are in support, and it is weekly support. So as long as we don't print outside of it, we couldn't come to 19 cents, it'd still be okay. We do have a bit of potentially what could be using the gap. Well, actually, on the weekly, where this kind of range doesn't quite reside, we should look at the down close. Did I just duplicate something? No, I figured. Whoa. We should look at these two lows here instead, which kind of spans. You know what? I'm just going to draw the entire range. This is the range. Okay, we have. Whoops. We have the midpoint at about 15 cent, a high about 17. We've got some prices there. I'm pulling at straws here. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. All right, we've got support. Other than that, though, I'm late as well. I haven't managed to end it. I haven't managed to end it before the stream. This has been probably my worst chart I've ever looked at. Not in terms of this is the worst chart. In terms of me, I haven't actually given you anything to operate with. I haven't actually given you any real opinions. This is pants, right? So what I'll take away from what I've rambled on about. How low can we really go before we go upwards long term? That's one. We are in technically support. I would argue the 25 to 15 cent range is the area, right? If we are going to go up, because again, sometimes coins come down and they never go back upwards, and they just stay at 0. I'm not saying this is going to happen. But if I was to give a buy area where I would perceive a move back upwards, it would be about 25 to 15 cent. I know that's a very wide range, but there's not a lot to look at here. Really pulling at straws. In terms of resistance, we've definitely got high end. I mean, to be fair, even though this is a breaker block, on the lower end, we're on, it is just a high at 65 cent, realistically. So, it swings around about. But we do have resistance here, 74, 75 cents. So we do have that on the way upwards. We don't really have much difficulty on the way upwards on the weekly. We do have maybe some gaps, but they're not crazy. They're not nothing, to be fair. Monthly, we don't really have much going on. We don't really have much resistance on the monthly up until this gap at 75 cent, really. So if we were to find support where we are and then go upwards, it's going to be 75 cent as my next price, which is crazy, actually, to be fair. But again, this is long time. This is like long term stuff. This is going to take a long time to happen, probably. So this is like a buy for a long term hold. This isn't a long. This isn't. Oh yeah, I'm going to long and win. Or I'm gonna long to 75 cent in the next 2 days. Right? This is we're on the weekly chart here. This is something you have to buy. This is something you can long, really, unless you're doing super low leverage. So yeah, you'd have to buy this to sell it then, realistically. So at that point, then it's more of a question where you can buy at 25, you can buy at 20, you can buy at 15. It's then a question of, okay, will it go up then? Will it actually go back upwards towards these prices? you'd hope to see it. Obviously, the market isn't too positive right now, but again, we've been going down for ages. I mean, to be fair, I don't know exactly when we started going down across the board, but I know. Yeah, we've been going down for ages, basically. We've been going down since basically 16th of December. So you'd like to hope that we'd go up again. We've come from $22.15 to like 20 cents, basically. So even a move to 75 cents, retroactively, it's that 75% move upwards isn't actually that bad. Like, excuse me. We have this massive move. Even if we retrace for a lower high, let's say, it's a massive move upwards relative to where we are. But on the grand scale, it sounds crazy. Oh yeah, 200%. But realistically, like, you know, in terms of what we've come down, like the price, it's been crazy, right? So yeah, that was a bit of a naff. I apologize for my naff TA. That's what I'd say, right? I would say we've got two areas, right? I'm going to do it in green and red. Where am I? There we go. We've got this. And then we've got this. That's what I'll say. And the where's the ghost thing? I actually want to use that. I've never used that actually before. That's pretty cool. Oh, hold on. What's this? Oh, that's quite cool. I don't know that. I've never done that before. That's quite cool. Here it is. So I think you can do this, can't you? And then you can go upwards. There you go. Yeah, see, that's the. Why is it white and black? This is not what we need to be doing right now. But there we go. And then this is black. Okay, that's basically the same. So yeah, this is what I don't know why it's so naff like that. Variants. Okay, let's add some variants here. Perfect. Let's add 25. There we go. This looks pretty cool. So yeah, this is what I'd probably say. Roughly within price action, you know, we've come down, and then I would probably go back upwards again, and then eventually, you know, we could come down again maybe, or we could, you know, continue the treacherous rain back upwards. But either way, yeah, I mean that's negative. We can't even go negative. Yeah, that's what I'd say. That's best I've got. I'm sorry, the best I've got. But nonetheless, though, thank you for joining the stream, all of you. I see some hellos. Hello to all of you. I will be back on Wednesday for the quiz. I do believe we didn't do one last week. We have one, I believe, this Wednesday, which would be good. And I'll be back Thursday. I don't know exactly when we'll get the mics, but it's going to be very, very nice to have. It's going to make the audio very, very good. Obviously, it's not bad as it is, but it's not like the best mic in the world. It's a microphone nonetheless, but it's gonna, you know, it's gonna improve it. Yeah, Wednesday 7 PM we have a Maple quiz. Perfect. I'll be back Thursday then. Back Saturday at normal times. I'm interested to see how this goes. I'm gonna keep an eye on Ondo. I'm gonna favorite this in my list. I think what are we on there? Okay, perfect. I will favorite this because I do want to see more of it. What? Oh yeah, I remember talking about this. Is this still going? Bit small. I don't know what I'm doing. I need to end the stream. I just want a quick look at it. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah, this is pretty good actually in terms of ranges. This is very, very good. Yeah. Anyways, thank you all of you. Appreciate it. Back Wednesday. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. I know I keep on getting told off. Whenever I don't look at the stream, I do this. Or when I'm looking at a chart, I do this, and it makes the audio cut in and out. So, better microphone, obviously. I'll be back Wednesday. I've just said this already. I'm going. Okay, we'll be back Wednesday. Thank you for the suggestion, Fondo. I will try to look at it next stream because I'm actually quite interested. Thank you all of you. See you next time. Goodbye. bye.